You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
Weinstein.
My favorite person.
Trial has begun.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what's going on for everyone once this episode comes out.
Yeah, he did get additional charges.
He did in Los Angeles. And
Yep.
if you notice, the charges in Los Angeles were consecutive days.
Yep.
Yeah. And now he is with a walker.
Yeah, I've seen the walker over the last, I think it's like the last month or so he's been sporting the walker.
Yeah, to get around.
Uh-huh.
And his lawyer today made a statement that she hopes women are happy now because they have introduced into their life a situation where men won't hold doors for them or ask them out on dates or tell them they look attractive.
And I have to say, praise be to all of the different women on Twitter taking this statement down.
I almost felt like it was fake. Did you at first think?
Oh, no, I don't think it's fake because I think when you have to be a person defending this guy, yeah. But our former guest of the podcast and friend of the podcast, Samantha Marie Knock, had a great tweet that said, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it was, I would give anything to have never been sexually assaulted, including all of these things that this woman is saying I never asked for. Like, I never wanted a man to hold open the door. I never wanted anyone to compliment my clothes. Didn't care about any of that. I would trade all of that to have not been sexually assaulted. And yeah, I think all of us would. Like, it is wildly irresponsible for this lawyer to say something so ridiculous.
And to imply, I mean, actually, when you think about it, more than anything else, there should have been a bunch of men extremely insulted by that comment.
You'd think.
You would think, wouldn't you? If I was a reasonable man and read that, I would be wanting to get on there and go, excuse me, are you saying that I can't ask a woman out, compliment her, and hold a door without wanting to rape her?
Well, have you seen the ridiculous articles that keep populating about how men are afraid to hire women in the workplace now?
Yes, I have seen this.
God only knows when they'll be wrongfully accused.
Or am I completely wrong? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, have I misunderstood all of the good men in my life?
It always comes back to it always comes back to women are in charge of nothing when it comes to our own bodies, but we are entirely responsible for the behaviors of men. And actions of men.
Yes.
So this is a glorious what's it called when there's just a no-win situation? I think that is womanhood.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I was almost not going to bring it up because I don't have words.
Yeah,
I couldn't even, like, my only reaction. I mean, you know, when you're on Twitter, you can retweet or you can retweet with comment.
Yep.
And I sat with that for a few minutes. And I thought, what comment could I make here that could possibly sum up the feelings I have reading that? I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't. And I'm pleased that many people were able.
Yeah, I think many people. And that's, you know what? And that's the wonderful thing. This is one of the wonderful things about Twitter. That I do not feel pressured to come up with my own... I can continue to be horrified and then retweet my friends who capture my horror because we a lot of us share a lot of this horror.
Yeah.
You know? And so just when someone else has said it perfectly...
I'm so happy to give this
grateful.
over to someone, especially someone who has experienced something that I have not. So... my outrage is just in. See, I can't even.
Yeah. Oh, it's because it's horrifying. It's horrifying, and it's particularly awful. There's these dudes who are accused of these horrific crimes, so routinely end up hiring a quote unquote ball busting woman
Yes.
to be like the front person of their defense. Because, I mean, this is a tactic that many like serial sexual harassers and sexual abusers have used over and over and over again. And I mean, defense lawyers do need to come in all different gender identities. So I understand that people have to do their jobs.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean we have to accept anything that they say.
It's just like the absurd moment a couple of weeks ago where Eddie Murphy hosted Saturday Night Live and said something about Bill Cosby.
I thought his Bill Cosby thing was actually pretty great.
So did I.
Yeah, amazing.
And then we were treated to Bill Cosby's people and their outrage.
Yeah.
And I was speechless, except for the only thought I had was the only people I care about here are the victims of Bill Cosby who got to see some justice. Yeah. And do you think that they were worried that Bill might have been offended by a joke that Eddie Murphy made on Saturday Night Live?
The other thing that I always sort of keep in mind, and again, I understand why my brain wants to sort of let it be something that's in the background, but whenever anyone talks about like, sort of like comparing and contrasting horrific, serial sexual predators and their crimes. And so someone like Weinstein, who has done so many horrific, awful things, and has, and we're never going to really know, I think, the extent of his criminal activity, nor the man that Jeffrey Epstein, who conveniently was, either died by suicide or was murdered in his holding cell, however you choose to sort of like live with that particular truth. We'll never know the extent of what he was complicit in. But like, matter of factly, like Bill Cosby hid behind a very specific and like very seriously disturbing sort of genial, like family
America's dad
thing. Yeah. To rape 50 women.
Yeah.
Minimally 50 women.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't. I think we sort of let go of a bit of that number of that detail because it's so horrific to comprehend. Mm-hmm. And we talk about like we don't know exactly what he did and because he drugged them all and blah blah blah. But like, I mean, my God, like just Eddie Murphy getting to. I mean, the scrutiny in which Bill Cosby sort of like expected him to act in a certain way and condemned him for like continuing the unfortunate stereotyping of black men. Like, screw you, Bill Cosby.
Yeah. I mean, I recognize there were layers to his comments, which weren't just about, what the women involved. There were other personal layers. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting because there are layers to Eddie Murphy as well, who has apologized many times for his early homophobic comments, which were awful. And in an era of people having a hard time apologizing, you know who didn't have a hard time apologizing? Eddie Murphy. Yep. Over and over and over again. Yep. Even now, apologizing. Yep. And so that's just a little reminder if anyone thinks, oh, like I did once, let's go on Netflix and watch Delirious. Just so you know. That might want to be taken off of Netflix.
There's a few things that don't age well.
There are very many. Yeah, there are a lot of things. But, taking responsibility for that. So I felt like Eddie Murphy up there, his comments, go at it. Yeah. Have at her.
Yeah, like there cannot be, in the same way that female comedian called out Harvey Weinstein back in November, December in New York, I believe it was.
Oh, yes.
And it went viral, and a bunch of people in the event space, like people were not supporting her for her sort of public act of like sort of the agreed upon, apparently, civility with which we have to treat serial sexual
Even watching the Golden Globes the other night.
I did not watch, but I've heard, and it's ridiculous.
It is. To act offended that Ricky Gervais brought up Weinstein and him saying, I didn't work with him, you guys did. I mean, that's that.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Mm-hmm. I don't even know. I mean, I would like to think. I mean, I have no problem believing if I was in a bar and Harvey Weinstein was in there that I would lose my stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I would leave, but I
feel like I would cause a
That's
scene.
the thing. And I'm so inspired by
I am too.
That woman who did cause that scene. Like, I just think that's
I don't even think it's even the fact that we just called it causing a scene.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
It's not causing a scene. Yeah, you're right. We're like further stigmatizing her.
Yeah.
No,
what she did was she asked people in this club to be accountable for the decision they made.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right.
And the fact that they knew they were coming into a place with a lot of women who would feel incredibly disrespected by that.
Yeah. So the comedian's name is Kelly Bachman.
Okay.
And she wrote some pieces in the New York Times and The Guardian about like why she spoke up and why she confronted him. And I strongly encourage everyone to check that out.
Yes, and so I guess to wrap this opening up, the Harvey Weinstein court case will drag on for a long time. I believe where we are at the taping of this is jury selection and other procedural issues, and we'll see what happens. But boy, what a time.
It will be very interesting.
Take care of yourself, everyone.
I know.
It's going to be a bumpy road.
It will. I don't think The Rise of Skywalker will necessarily make you feel better.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. What an evil segue. But here I am.
It's January.
Here I am doing it to everyone. I'm Andrea Warner.
And I'm Lisa Christiansen.
And you're listening to Pop This. We're here to talk about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, and I feel like I am a big Star Wars fan.
You are, yes.
And have been for, my whole life.
Yep.
And so this is probably a lot more alarming to me than this is to you. But you did go to see this, so you have been.
I did. And weirdly enough, I think I went like the night before opening night or something.
You did, because I saw you just as
you
were
yeah,
heading
and you were
out.
like, don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to see it. And then I had it rightfully pointed out to me that I've seen all the others. And particularly I've enjoyed, I really enjoyed The Last Jedi. And I really enjoyed some of the other episodes that were not part
The Force
of
Awakens. Did you enjoy that one? The first one?
The first
of the most recent trilogy.
Yeah. It was fine. Mm-hmm. I like the other films as well. The like the Star Wars ones that aren't.
The New Hope, the
Empire
Strikes Back, and
sorry, no, I'm thinking of the one in which they all blow up at the end.
That happens all the time.
Diego.
Rogue One.
Rogue One. I like that one.
Those middle ones, but not the Han Solo one.
I didn't. You know what? I never saw the Han Solo one. Yeah.
I'm a completist.
Yeah, you are. You are. Mm-hmm. So I needed to see this, and I wasn't going to. But I also remember seeing like The Last Jedi and like seeing Carrie Fisher on the screen after she had died, and like I burst into tears like in The Last Jedi, and it was surprising to me that I didn't know. Like I had already mourned her. I felt in many ways, but for some reason seeing her on screen for The Last Jedi, I was like.
Well, here's some good news for everybody. If you haven't already gone to see it and you are worried about having some emotional feelings, you won't.
Yeah.
You will have no emotional connection to anything in this story, despite the fact that you have been set up to feel this is the end of the Skywalker saga, which that's made up because nobody... Really, you could have done 3 more if you wanted. Made up.
Pretty sure they're gonna. I mean, I honestly have such. I left the movie thinking, shrug. Like, what was that? Like, I was mad. I was emotionally unaffected. I felt super irritated because I really did love The Last Jedi so much.
Me too. I was set up.
Yeah.
I was set up, but let's be honest, in between The Last Jedi and the rise of Skywalker, there was also a rise of very ugly fandom.
Yeah.
That, we got used to that too, with from The Force Awakens as well. They awoke.
They sure did.
Those dudes awoke.
Uh-huh.
And then they certainly weren't made to feel any better about a girl and all kinds of other things by The Last Jedi. And then by the time for the rise of Skywalker, someone made a really interesting decision to appease those angry men who I don't know.
I don't understand it at all. Like, I feel like we're in this situation where Star Wars, to me, and again, I don't have the same lifelong attachment to it as you, but from what I have seen and what people have done, I think, as part of the franchise, have been like, fascism is bad, and racism is bad, and sexism is bad. That has been, to me, the overarching thematic drive of all the Star Wars films.
It doesn't, it just feels like this movie was such a rejection of everything you've loved about Star Wars. Granted, I'm going to be a devil's advocate quickly on this because I do know some people who felt that The Last Jedi was that to them.
That it was a rejection of
all the things they loved about Star Wars.
But like,
why
how?
Specifically?
Yeah.
Right from, if you remember the opening scene of The Last Jedi, that Luke had become a bitter old man out on an island. And didn't want anything to do with anything.
Yeah.
I think for, depending on who you are, that resonated in a different way. For me, that was all, that makes sense. Yeah. I keep watching this all of the time.
Yeah.
Of this happening to men. It's like I've actually said to young men I know, I've begged them, please don't let that disease happen to you. Yeah. Do not let yourself become a bitter old man who cuts himself off of the world because he feels disappointed that people didn't respect him in the way he thought he should have been.
The entitlement.
The entitlement of it. And don't let that happen to you. And they look at me like wide-eyed, and that'll never happen to me. And I oh, you say this now.
Yeah.
But it keeps happening over and over and over again. So that scene to me rang true.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like...
And a lot of people, felt very angry that they had turned this Luke into that guy. Luke was a brave guy. Luke was the guy that was saving everything. Yeah, I mean, I don't care about them because I feel like they've never gotten... Like, is it wrong to think that they've never understood the actual point of Star Wars, maybe? Well, I mean, I know they would argue the other thing. I think they would argue, because I've had to listen to these arguments a lot, that Star Wars didn't need nuance. Star Wars didn't need a scene where Yoda says, "Let the old ways burn." We're constantly, we're shedding skins. We're like snakes, right? Yeah. We're shedding skins. We get more information. I mean, I think to those people, I guess the Earth could have stayed flat. There wasn't any point to try and figure out why things aren't falling off the edge of the Earth.
But I just don't want those people to ever be rewarded for their misreading.
Well, they were. And it was called The Rise of Skywalker.
It's so frustrating because, that's the thing. Like, when I was watching The Last Jedi, I was like, oh, you know what? I finally really get it. I felt like I finally fully understood. Like, I think... obviously, a lot of stuff around stormtroopers and Nazis, and it's not Star Wars is not a subtle film in its original existence. Again, rise up against fascism, friends. The collective is important. Humanity and community is what is valued above, hierarchies of awfulness and marginalization. Again, these seem like sort of normal things in the Star Wars universe. To have a reading that is literally specifically just a focus, to the extent in which they believe that the hero's journey is one hero only, and that a hero is not about a community of people who help people.
Well, and the
Like,
earlier
it's
Star Wars
wild.
movies introduced the entire idea that all of our lives are going to constantly be this war between our good and our dark sides.
Yeah.
That's a constant. That's going to keep happening to us.
Yeah.
And you have to be working really, really hard to keep those in check. Because if you let one of them take over, you're living on an island all alone.
Yeah. Well, that's,
and that's what can happen to you. Because that dark side, that's as real a dark side as wanting to start a war.
yeah.
As shutting yourself off and being a bitter old man.
And I think, like, also, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I've been thinking about it in relation to, like, I don't know, some people I know, but also just sort of some observations about the world, and thinking about, like, how it is. I understand why people sometimes choose hardness over vulnerability. Because vulnerability is really, that's actually hard work. Like, being
Yes.
vulnerable and being
Yes.
open to the world and letting things hurt you and letting yourself feel about things. Like, it is so much easier technically to just decide to shut down and put up all these barriers. And, like, I know.
And that's Kylo Ren.
Yeah, and it's not particularly, like, revelatory, like, thinking on my part, but, like, I really thought about what it means to, like, this is how we see us, I think, socially end up with so much sort of, like, distance between, like, class warfare and sort of the socialized medicine and all these people who, like, people voting against their own, like, self-interest all the time over and over and over again because they just believe that they are these, like, I'm an island unto myself, as it were.
And a belief that as long as somebody else is below me, I'm winning.
Yeah. It's so depressing, and because that's just not how a society functions.
No, if you want to really, really see a fantastic movie about that, go see Parasite.
Ah, yes, I still haven't seen it, and I'm gonna see it, and we'll talk about that in another episode.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. Because anyway, I shall say no more.
Yeah, but yeah, so I was really bummed. I was really bummed about this. I feel like J.J. Abrams really sold out a lot of people and a lot of characters, and frankly, also, like, the actress, Kelly Marie Tran. I just am furious about what they did to Rose.
And then made lies up about why that happened because of some CGI. And,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's monstrous, honestly. And why you would give in to racist, sexist, like, idiots is beyond me. You are a multi-billion dollar franchise. You have all the power.
It's just it's very difficult actually to talk about a movie that is so terrible. Like, to find anything constructive for us to chat about.
Well, there's going to be not a lot that's constructive. I think we're probably going to, like, crap on a bunch of things. I have a bunch of questions.
Okay, you can ask questions, but I just feel like there is literally zero to recommend this movie. If I could, like, take tomatoes from you,
Yep.
that would be my Rotten Tomato score.
Wow. Okay. So you hated it.
Hated it.
Hated it. Okay. So yeah, I like did not like it, but I didn't hate it. But I think that's because I don't have the long-standing emotional attachment to it that you do. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't. It is not a disappointment to my soul. You know.
Yeah. And
So I'm sorry you had to watch it.
No, and the only I have to say that the only thing that I am holding on to as a personal joy that nobody, including J.J. Abrams or whoever else worked on this film, can take away from me, is that I was not expecting 3 more Star Wars movies. This was a surprise a few years ago.
Yeah.
That we were going to resurrect this.
Yeah.
We're going to give you some new movies. Seemed really exciting to me.
Yeah.
And then everything seemed to be great. All of the things seemed to be working. And so when I went to see that, I lined up at night and stood with all of these other Star Wars fans at the theater at midnight, and they were all in costume.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun to hang out with them, just that enjoyment, and then getting into the theater, and when the lights went down, and then that Star Wars theme music started, and the Star Wars came out, and then the yellow crawl.
Yeah.
I mean, the theater was whooping and cheering, and I will always have that.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, J.J. Abrams, because from what I understand, he's a big fan of this podcast.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was a great moment that you can't have. It's mine.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. And so I know that you facilitated that in some sort of way. So the huge disappointment I feel that you did this is I'm just going to have to I'm going to have to just remind myself, as I usually do, that when we try to pander to people, we disappoint everyone, including ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and because I do love Rian Johnson's Last Jedi so much.
Yes.
Like, I just, like, that to me is going to be...
It was terrific.
Yeah.
All the way, it was really funny because before going, this is very funny, but before going to see the Rise of Skywalker, I watched again the end, watched just to kind of remind myself of that. So I watched The Last Jedi. So I came out and having a chat about the movie. And I was like, oh, was there anything you liked? And went, well, I really enjoyed that one scene. And then I was reminded, that was The Last Jedi.
You're like, uh-oh.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, boy.
Put them in my brain.
Yep.
Yeah. So I honestly, it's challenging for anyone who's had to review this. I did sat down and I saw a piece where there were 86 questions we still have about the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I read through all of them.
And
all of them I agreed.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, I guess my first question is, so Rey and Kylo Ren, not brother and sister.
No. Just the offspring of evil Sith warriors.
Okay. Yeah. So Rey is the offspring of the evil Palpatine.
Emperor Palpatine. What? Honestly, that is so stupid.
Also,
especially since The Last Jedi set up that she was kind of made me think of Harry Potter, like a muggle.
Yeah.
She was common born, that the Force could find anyone.
Yeah.
And in fact, The Last Jedi ended with a little boy sweeping up as a janitor, and the Force was in him.
Yeah.
And there was something really beautiful and magical about that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Hard reset on that.
Palpatine, who died in the first 3 movies.
Who looks like just like a gross alien scrotum in this.
Has been kept alive somewhere?
Yeah, I don't understand.
And the only, and as people have commented, which is very funny, is you just get this one line from Poe going, he's still alive? That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, why? Why wasn't someone going, that is so stupid?
Yeah.
I would have said that was stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that was one. Okay.
Okay.
How did you feel about the kiss?
So betrayed.
I hated it.
Why was that necessary?
I hated it.
Why did we need that?
We did not.
What did it serve?
We did not. We needed nothing.
What did it mean?
It was
that this entire thing has been sexual tension, and was that what they were trying to tell us?
Well, that gross ship service of whoever was shipping Rey and Kylo Ren, because apparently you just want the worst for Rey. Everyone.
So she saved him. It's the ultimate in the woman saving the man. That's what we watched.
And then he saves her because he brings her back to life with his life force or something. I was so mad. I think I actually was no, out loud in the theater.
Yeah, I think I was with you there.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. That was terrible.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
And why?
Unless, of course, you just weird kissing, because that is a Star Wars thing too.
I mean, sure, but that's why I was like, okay, well, maybe they still are brother and sister, because Star Wars definitely loves to play with incest.
Yeah,
I can respect that. It's a weird sort of thing, but sure, whatever.
Yeah,
Your space opera.
Yeah.
The other thing, I like. Chewie dies and then doesn't die within minutes.
It's just, that was manipulative too, for no reason.
They don't even do it well.
No.
It doesn't pay off at all.
No, why would they make you sit there thinking Chewie was dead? I don't understand. And then they just go save him.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Right away.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
also former guest of the podcast multiple times, Sanera Geisler.
Yes.
She and I were texting about it after because she's also a big Star Wars fan. And she was outraged that, again, like they kept sort of like short serving us on all the, like robbing us of any emotional moments that could potentially, so the Chewie death thing and potentially like,
Finn?
R2D2, C-3PO.
Oh, yeah, getting his memories zapped.
Getting his memories zapped. And it has this sort of like nice emotional delivery of like saying goodbye to my friends. But they've already said that they can restore him from a backup.
Yeah.
So why? Why did they do that? Like
why did we never see Felicity's face?
Well, I mean,
what was that about?
I think that so this is my take on this film, is that it's one about like apparently getting terrible fans on side again, which I don't know why you'd care about that. But basically like setting up a bunch of like other solo shows or solo movies and prequels because
so we can't see her face?
Well, I guess like they could have, but I mean they also hired Lupita Nyong'o to play a sort of ridiculous throwaway animated character for like the whole like what a waste of her talents anyway. But like I think they're setting up obviously like a prequel with her and Poe and their previous relationship, and also you don't
but then
hire
again that whole thing. I mean, we in The Last Jedi we had this fantastic moment where I can't remember their Star Wars names, so I'm just going to call them by their real their names, Carrie Fisher and Laura Dern.
Yep.
They're so mad at Poe for like killing all of these people, which he thinks is somehow it's great to go and kill people or die for some cause, which you didn't need to do.
Yeah.
And they're just so bored. Yes, they do manage a moment where he's kind of cute, which is fair. Sure. But they're not bowing down to that.
But I think it's about setting up this sort of nonsense prequel.
Which is why you were right I thought Rogue One was so good.
Rogue One is so good. For all of those
things.
Yeah.
Great characters, good motivation, and everyone dies.
Yeah. But hiring Jodie Comer to be Rey's mom in the flashback, like that's obviously, you're not going to hire the woman from Killing Eve, who is one of the most sought after actors.
So weird.
Well, you're only going to do that if you're setting up another prequel, where we're going to have to see how like what I guess apparently like the Palpatine family line is going to be like.
Well, there was
how wild is this?
That IO9 blog today had the headline of the year, which was, so when did Palpatine F?
Yes.
I mean...
And who? Yeah. Are we going to have to see that romance? Gross.
I mean, I guess. I mean, you can imagine Hayden Christensen pulled off Darth Vader or something like
That's true.
that. So I guess they could hire someone to be the younger Palpatine.
Oh my God, Timothy Chalamet. Yeah, as the young Palpatine.
He should just be everybody. Did you see he's being cast as a young Bob Dylan?
There you go. He can do it all.
Just Timothy Chalamet. All the way.
All the way.
All the time.
Oh God. And then like they don't really use Finn to any effect at all.
Just yelling Rey all the time.
Yeah. He
goes... stupid plot things where they accidentally fall down quicksand but then find the item that they need. Immediately. And it doesn't make sense because it's not even that old. And anyway, there's nothing good about this movie.
Also, Rey can heal people with her hands. Is that new? Did she
the Force, the Kylo?
Oh, the Force. Yeah. I guess. I don't understand. So, like, also, if her and Kylo Ren can just summon each other into each other's existences, apparently.
Yeah.
Why do they need to have an epic
battle 100 times?
On 100 times, especially in like on a stormy
Death
tanker?
Star.
I don't know. It was a stormy Death Star.
It was the Death Star that...
That's right.
Yeah.
But like, I guess people are excited about that, or were they? I don't know. It looked to me like it was just ridiculous.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to admit something.
Yeah.
I actually fell asleep through a little bit of it.
Wow.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I could feel it coming on. You know when you're like in a theater and it's a little bit dark and late and you're a little bit worried about that?
Yeah.
I gave right over to it.
Oh, wow. You were just like, I don't care.
I didn't bother getting up for a walk.
Wow.
I didn't bother picking up my Coke and having an extra sip.
Yep.
I just let that take over me.
Wow. I understand. I understand.
So I know what I missed.
Yeah.
So not to worry, I filled it in.
Yeah.
It was during that very long battle scene on...
It was so boring. You weren't missing much.
No, I knew, and that's what happened.
Especially because there doesn't feel like there's consequences in this film at all.
Then Han Solo's there, and then Luke's there. Like, everyone's ghost is... You know what? The ghosts are cool in Lord of the Rings. Right? They can go and fight battles. I don't know what the point of the ghosts in this movie are.
I had a real question about that, because, like, we see some ghosts at the end, but we don't see all the ghosts at the end.
Yeah. Well, I read that
they couldn't get like Harrison Ford to do an extra day.
There was that. I mean, I don't know for sure if this is true, but there are rumors that all of those voices you hear Rey hearing, all of the Jedis over the years, that montage was meant to be somewhere else in the film.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all voices from
other movies,
animated films as well, right?
Oh, animated too?
I think it's
okay.
There's like a bunch of. I was like, how is this person in this film? And then Carlos was like, oh, they're in the animated one or whatever. Because I didn't.
Well, that seems unfair.
I know I don't understand. Like, I feel like I don't understand half of what I saw.
Well, I don't know how you would put anything together in this.
Because it didn't feel like it tied a boat. Like a bunch of the reviews that I was reading, the ones that were positive, were like, Star Wars fans will be satisfied that this ties it all up together. How?
My brother and I were quite different on The Last Jedi.
Uh-huh.
And I think I mentioned this before, even had some arguments about it, and we usually get along quite well. But he did send me a text after he saw it and was like, meh. And we went through back and forth a few things, and he hated it too.
Yeah.
Disappointed.
It is disappointing.
And I think that's the larger word out of this. Disappointed. Disappointed. Oh, look at this one here. Scott Mendelson for Forbes. These are from our notes here.
Yeah.
Described the film as possibly worse than any prior Star Wars episode. It ends a legendary franchise with a thud, while denying this new trilogy its artistic reason for existence. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. There's the bow.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. I would never go and see this if I knew all of this. Well, I probably would, because that's who I am.
You're a completist.
I'm a completist. But it was, and an even bigger sin is it's boring. It's boring.
Yeah.
There's no reason to even sit there.
I agree. It is.
I got a nice pail for popcorn.
Did you get the R2-D2 popcorn?
No, I got the Rise of Skywalker pail.
Nice.
I did.
Nice. I looked at the little R2-D2 and I was like, oh, we should get that. And Carlos was like, it's like $40. And I was like, oh, we should not get that.
I feel like there's
ridiculous.
a reckoning going to come from this movie. I do.
Yeah?
I feel like it's slow. It's a slow thing. But there will be a big, giant something will happen. Because it's so disappointing.
Well, and it kind of disappointed at the box office too, right?
Disappointed at the box office. It's just been a disappointment. I want people to wear this. In shame.
Yeah.
I want them to do a walk like Cersei in Game of Thrones through the town.
Yeah.
As people throw those rotten tomatoes. I mean,
I have to do my sick laugh. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Shame.
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 Yeah.
Shame.
Wow.
That's how I feel. I can't even believe that there were people who had to sit in the first screening and went, well, there you are. Like, what was that process like?
Yeah.
What was going on in there? I have questions as well.
Yeah, I understand why so I had been seeing a lot of positive stuff from some directors who I really respect, but they weren't commenting about the film.
Oh.
They were just congratulating Daisy Ridley on doing the best she could. And
there's some passive aggressive complimenting there, Hey?
They're like, you've done everything you can with Rey to give us a strong woman character. I saw like people, giving as much praise as they could to
There's
Kelly
been lots
Marie
of
Tran.
fallout from interviews too, previous to it coming out. There seemed to be some kind of effort to take Ryan Johnson down, some interviews.
Which is wild because Ryan Johnson is so good.
He'd already been taken down by all the gross fans after that movie came out.
Yeah.
And then to have to deal with this again. And then I started noticing that in that Star Wars Twitter community, there were people who work for like the company going, hey, everyone, let's try and be positive. And I'm like, where were you when The Last Jedi came out?
Well, and where were you when like Kelly Marie Tran is getting all this like racist, sexist, awful stuff?
Where were you then?
The racism that she experienced was horrific. And it continues to be horrific.
Yeah.
And
then to hardly be in this movie at all.
Oh.
And speaking of Lord of the Rings, we had the guy who was in there. The guy from the movie. The guy from Lord of the Rings.
I need more.
Who played the Hobbits.
You played all the Hobbits?
No. Remember there was Mary?
Yeah, uh-huh.
And...
Oh, yes. Yep.
He was in there.
Yeah.
This sounds like the weirdest sentence ever.
No.
Why would they put him in there and not use him at all? Like, it did not make any sense.
Again, it's got to be a prequel. Honestly, am I going to get a Rose movie? I am not going to get a Rose movie, and I want one. She deserves one.
She does now,
like,
for
she's
sure.
great.
Yeah, she is.
And I'm so furious.
And they also set up that maybe there was going to be something there between... Well, I mean, she was definitely had feelings for Finn.
Yeah.
And then, then what's... What?
And then Finn, like, does not seem to sort of, like, care at all about her anymore. And
he loves Rey, but he also loves
Rey.
Poe?
Well, I appreciate any queering of any characters.
Sure,
that can
but
happen.
it didn't, but I was confused.
I did not get as much. I expected, after hearing all this, like, scuttlebutt about...
I heard there was a kiss. Well, I saw the kiss. There were two women kissing when they won the big thing.
Yeah, but I had heard a scuttlebutt about, like, the Finn-Poe, like, romance.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let me see the proof of this. I saw nothing. But what I did see between the three of them, which I think, again, is really nice to see, like, a close bond between those three of, like, Rey, Finn, and Poe, like, being together and, like, caring about each other and hugging each other. Like,
sure,
I care about that.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't care about Finn suddenly, I guess, having Rey feelings again.
But it was almost as if, again, where all those fans went, wow, we just want a Luke and Han and Leia thing.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Just recreate that for us.
Recreate that again, that formula, the magic. It's totally, No, I know. Unacceptable.
It is, and it's just, again, I'm so disappointed.
I know. I'm a little bit surprised. Do
you have more questions?
Well...
Besides just and then I keep disappointing you with my answers, which are just, like, deep sadness?
No. I wanna talk just a little bit about, like... Leia's death.
Yeah.
I feel like this is such a letdown for everything that Carrie Fisher gave us in the character.
Sure.
Like, awful.
Why couldn't they have just let her die?
Awful.
Like, she died.
Yeah.
Like, in real life, she died.
Yeah.
Like, just let that go.
Yeah.
This was such weird. It was weird. I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either, because if they're just writing to dialogue that they have had her pre-record and tape that they had.
Can you imagine how she would have felt watching this?
Oh, horrified. No, I was livid. Like, she deserves so much more, and she does deserve a big epic send-off, but, like, this was not it.
No, this was not it.
Like, I just... And you know what? I understand that people really like Adam Driver, and I think he does what he can with, like, this material. But what is interesting to me about Kylo Ren is always, like, him talking about how they do need to start over, and they do need to leave things in the past and create a new way forward.
Yeah.
But they make him then also be this, like, wildly violent, temper tantruming, like, monster man boy, while also giving him some, like, relatively, like, reasonable sort of discourse about, like, the need to not sort of, like, continuing to like pray at the altar of everything that has come before. Like, I don't think they know what they want to do with him either.
No. Well, they did in The Last Jedi, right?
They did in The Last Jedi.
We did. And I thought that was just such a great, like they even introduced it actually in The Force Awakens, which that, like we said earlier, that being good and not giving over to bitterness is hard.
Yeah.
And we understand that.
Yeah.
All of us understand that.
Yeah.
So many disappointments in life. So much loss. Some of us more than others. And it really is hard not to give over to that. But that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of that whole Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Is that we don't give over to that. That's why they name movies like A New Hope. Like,
well,
A New Hope. Like
yeah.
hoping, like trying and doing your best. And not, and they did manage in those first two movies to give Rey that fascinating, like, that she is that person.
Yeah.
And she really is. She just understands. It's not that she doesn't know that there's badness. It's just that she works really, really hard. She probably takes a lot of time out for herself.
Yeah.
And does a lot of self-care and understands who she is.
Yeah.
And understands that she's not going to get anywhere with that bitter, twisted feeling that, Kylo Ren has decided to let himself feel.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we don't even, like, outside of the fact that, like, he had, like, a little bit neglectful parents.
Well, Luke was going to kill him.
Well, Luke was going to kill him, but, like...
I mean, upsetting for sure.
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 But, like, I mean, like, what's his real damage?
I mean, I guess that's what we're supposed to believe is the damage.
He's a latchkey kid whose uncle wanted to kill him?
I mean, yeah, I don't... I mean, that's a lot when you say it like that, but I don't know. Mom was working a lot. It's hard to facilitate a rebellion. I don't know.
It just makes me so infuriated that, like, basically Kylo Ren is this like character manifestation of these spoiled man babies.
Yeah, I know. But then they had to give him his tiny bit of redemption there.
And I mean, I'm not against him having a more complicated path. I would like him to have more complicated nuance to him, you know? Like, that would be much more interesting to me to see him, I don't know, just something more well thought out. This film, I think I know, is because so many weird people worked on it. So, after the new trilogy was announced following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012, it was originally reported that The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson would write the script for Episode 9. But in August 2015, Colin Trevorrow was hired to direct and to write a script with his collaborator Derek Connolly. Both ultimately retained story credit with Abrams and Chris Terrio. In September 2017, Trevorrow left the project following creative differences with producer Kathleen Kennedy, and Abrams returned as director.
Ah, yes.
That is too many names, and this is why we've got this.
Well, which is what happened with Solo, right?
Yes.
They had two people, and then they brought Ron Howard in when they didn't like the vision that the other two guys were doing, which now you kind of go, I wonder what they were doing. Would that have fixed anything there?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, I guess some people now, I've watched some of The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. Have you?
No.
On the Disney Plus. So there you go. We've discussed subscription services. It is getting harder to I mean, I don't know, we all have to be millionaires to be able to get all of this stuff.
For sure, yeah.
But if you get Disney Plus, you get all the other Star Wars movies. So there you go. But yeah, The Mandalorian, I was not super keen on the first 2 episodes, but then I watched the last 2 and really enjoyed those.
Okay, good.
And the last one was directed by, I think, everyone's favorite. I always get his name wrong. Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
He directed the last one.
Oh, nice.
And, well, I mean, it's genius.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That's great.
And so maybe there was some kind of divine intervention for everybody that The Mandalorian can fill in now for us. So we're disappointed. Sure, we're disappointed.
We'll be swept along to the next thing.
But we can be swept along, and I'm okay with that. The Star Wars universe is vast.
Yep.
We can call this a day, and quite rightly. Nobody's going to want any more of this.
Nope.
I have already heard rumors that the next Star Wars movie is going to happen 500 years before the Skywalker saga begins, which is very funny because someone pointed out, oh, you mean like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like, I don't...
That's a bit on the nose,
I'm really lost in the timeline here. I don't know.
I don't know what the timeline is either. I have no idea, but apparently it's going to get at how the Jedi and the Sith got to be at odds.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess what everyone, including myself, is wondering is, are there any lessons learned through this experience? Don't
give in to the whiny.
Yeah. Are there postmortems looking at how disappointing?
I mean, I want to believe that there are.
I mean,
but
of course they were going to make money. Of course.
Yeah, but I don't think there always are. But I think, one of the things, I mean, I know that we talked a little bit about Schitt's Creek in the last episode that we recorded, but one of the things that Dan Levy said about creating it is that they made TV that they wanted to see, that they felt good about, and they didn't worry about whether there was an audience.
You can't
worry about.
I saw this on Twitter the other day. Dave Foley, who was a member of the Canadian sketch comedy troupe Kids in the Hall, much loved by everyone, said, hey, everyone, just wondering if we did come back online somehow, what would you like to see? What should we keep? And how can we appeal to a younger audience? My first thought was, please do not think about that. Yeah. Do not go there. Do not think about a younger audience. You know what's coming back for a 10th season? Curb Your Enthusiasm. Why? Because we like that cranky old bugger, right? As much as we don't like him. He's not sitting around going, how do I appeal to? No, he just makes what it is, what he sees, and the audience comes.
Well, I think maybe from a comedy standpoint, though, the idea of trying to engage is maybe he's just looking at it from more of an inclusivity perspective.
Sure. I guess it's just that feeling of watching somebody try to be something for everybody and you can't.
No, and I don't think you can be something for everybody. I think particularly in comedy there's a desire to keep evolving.
That's a whole other issue. I mean, that kind of issue to me is the fact that have all five of you evolved as people. Because then it won't be a problem.
Exactly.
Because the things you're finding funny will come across. Yeah. But if you haven't evolved, any of you as human beings, then I don't want to watch what does Chicken Lady look like now that she's 30 years older. Yeah. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't want to see your greatest hits or something.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I want to see five evolved men making the comedy that they now think is funny. That's all I mean is in that way. Because I do think we have, like I said, we've got, like even watching, a good example would be when Saturday Night Live is working. It's because...
so rare lately, God.
But it's because there's an expansion of that writing room and the cast and bringing in new voices. Yeah. And I'd like to think, I hope for me, I want to watch Saturday Night Live sometimes and not get it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm frequently watching Saturday Night Live that is like made by two entirely different Saturday Night Lives. Like sometimes it's so good.
Yes, agreed.
And sometimes it's just one of the worst, stalest, most awful. Yeah. And it's wild to me how two things can coexist under the same umbrella.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But so is Star Wars. So
yes, exactly. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to make the thing. Like, I mean, imagine this podcast if we had, who we first heard when we started it was this man angry at us because he thought we needed to have sex first because we sounded so cranky.
I mean, I don't know about you. I come into this podcast freshly laid every time.
Always. And
I just come right from work. 17 orgasms. It's great.
Yeah. Only 17. Hey?
Only 17. Only 17.
But I mean, like you have to evolve. You have to put the thing out there that you feel.
Yeah.
You have to. And there's a lot out there right now. A lot. Yeah. And the only thing you can offer us at all, ever, is that unique thing that's in your heart that comes out onto a page. Yeah. And as you mentioned, Schitt's Creek, if that had been crowdsourced to death, God knows what that would have been.
Yeah. No, I think you just have to.
And it did take a while. And that's another important thing, too. If you're going to be in sketch comedy, obviously, don't expect this to be like right away, right? We're going to have to work into this.
Yeah. So Star Wars.
That took a segue.
That did.
Yeah.
Does not pop for you, I'm guessing.
No, at all.
Yeah, it didn't pop for
Like,
me
save
either.
your money, everyone.
Go watch
if you
The
haven't
Last
gone
Jedi.
yet. Yeah. Just make sure, tell yourself that's how it ended.
Honestly, yes. Absolutely. I strongly encourage you to pretend it ended with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, and you're going to be so happy.
Yeah. What do you recommend?
Yeah, see, okay, fantastic book I just finished. A novel, I think from last year, called Severance by Ling Ma.
Okay.
And generally, I don't like to read post-apocalyptic fiction. But this is from an incredibly great perspective. I guess the shorthand would be millennial. Mm-hmm. And how it looks to see the end of the world coming when you didn't really have a chance much to participate in it at all. In its formation. Yeah. And especially, she brings the perspective of being an immigrant to the United States as well. Mm-hmm. So even less of an opportunity to have taken part in the structure that is now falling apart. Yeah. It kind of goes back and forth into like what her life was like before. I think she's probably like in the story, I think the author's in her early 30s, so the girl is probably in her mid-20s. Goes back and forth to what the world looks like after, and a little bit from before. It did make me think a lot of my favorite book I've read recently was Station 11. Okay. I loved, and so I think women should just keep writing post-apocalyptic fiction because we don't just need, Cormac McCarthy's The Road out there, that's for sure.
Sure don't.
So,
sure don't.
Highly recommended Severance.
Severance?
Severance, like severance pay after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That sounds great. Mine, totally different direction. Again, something I watched a lot of over the holidays when I was so sick is Nailed It Holiday Edition.
Oh, yes, I watched some of that too. Yeah.
I love Nicole Byer.
Yeah.
And I love the ridiculousness of that show.
And they have it like a French version now and a Spanish version.
They got a bunch of versions all over the world. Yeah. It's taken off wildly.
Yeah.
And it brings me so much joy.
Agreed.
As Nicole Byer would say, it makes me tee-hee-hee all the time.
Agreed.
Love you, Nicole. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. This has been a wild and woolly episode.
Disappointing.
Just disappointing. Not the episode itself, just Star Wars.
Yes.
Although, if you were disappointed with us, please don't tell us about it. Instead, rate and review us 5 stars
please.
On iTunes.
We saved you like at least $15 on this.
Totally, 100%.
Yeah. We did. Thanks so much for joining us. We recorded at Vancouver Public Library. Andrea Gin is our producer, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.